Good morning and welcome to this month's SD Launch and Learn on Culture-Driven Recruiting. Before I introduce our guests, I'd like to go over some quick housekeeping items. First of all, if you can hear me, please raise your hand in the below webinar controls. All right, thank you, Nancy, Stacy, Tom. Great. Can everybody else hear me? Great. Thank you, Taylor. Great. Welcome. My name is Julia Linton, and I am the SD Launch Operations Manager. In just a minute, I'll hand the mic over to our speaker, and she will begin the webinar. After about 15 minutes, we'll pause for questions. Using the same webinar controls, you can type in your questions, and we will answer them as they come up during our Q&A break. Also, at the end of the webinar, we'll open the Q&A period back up using the webinar controls again. Today, I'm excited to welcome Leanne Edwards as founder of OneInAMil, the only culture-driven recruiting firm in the nation. With 15 years of recruiting and human resources experience, she has won Charlie's 50 Most Progressive, 40 Under 40, and she is the culture-driven recruiting evangelist. Leanne, or LA as she is known, has taken organizations to Inc.'s 500 fastest growing company list and the best places to work list. LA just wrote her first book on culture-driven recruiting. You can find it on Amazon. LA was a contestant in The Top Recruiter, a reality show in 2016, and several Art of Recruiting docufilms with top recruiters from all over the world. LA is a thought leader and mentor with a background specializing in crafting software development teams and building awesome places to work. She is originally from Boston and loves a nice cold Sam Adams. She is passionate about running, dangerous skiing, and loves playing hockey. If you can't find her in the office, you'll find her on the boat with her husband, 2 kids, and her 2 chow-chows with a fishing rod in hand. I'd now like to hand it over to Leanne.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us today. I appreciate it. So to kick things off, let's get started here. Here we are. All right. So culture-driven recruiting. There is no talent war if you eliminate the competition. A lot of the subject is very, very subjective, which is why I love talking about it, because I think people get really excited. We are an organization here in Charleston. We're based out of Charleston. Here is our full team. I wanted to put some pictures in so you guys could kind of get a feel for who we are. Like I said, we're based out of Charleston. We've been here for almost 5 years. We are a nationwide and, in fact, actually global organization. Right now, we are hiring all over the world for a ton of different startups, but we love being here in Charleston and being a part of this community as well. One of the things that we love doing is bringing new talent to the Charleston tech scene. So we've been in the tech scene now for quite a while. Blaine and I, actually, who's here with me today, also started in the tech scene with me about a decade ago now at a local startup here called Spark. And so we were able to build that from the ground up, and then I went out on my own, and Blaine followed eventually. So very lucky to have her here, and we are out there preaching the word about culture-driven recruiting. And so today, what I hope to do is tell you guys what that is. I want to be able to give you a ton of takeaways, some really actionable items that you can be excited about. Sometimes this can be super overwhelming, so I just want to make sure that you look at it with an open mind, take notes if you can, and then what I've given you here in this presentation is baby steps. So little teeny tiny things that you can do today to improve your organization. So if you see the girls on the side there, that's Blaine up to the left. There's Alexia there, Katie in the bottom, and then Mary Beth is also in one of those pictures too, who has been with us for almost 5 years as our content strategy manager. So that's our team. We're super fun. What you see in front of you there is the book that we just launched this year in November. Yeah, November. Our first book launch was up in Boston, working with a company called Workable, which was awesome. We were all able to be there and do a fireside chat with the Workable team. So a lot of what you're going to see today is pulled from the book, and so we will be sharing this information so that you guys can have all the documents that we go through. So there we are up in Boston. So much fun, such a great night. I want to talk a little bit about OneInAMil and what sets us apart from any other recruiting firm here or globally. I've worked in a lot of different recruiting environments before, and when I went out on my own, the reason that I decided to start OneInAMil was because I was excited to teach people about culture-driven organizations. So a way to recruit in order to have the recruiting done for you, right? If you eliminate the talent war, you have no competition. So there's ways to go about doing that as far as building your organization and your team and building a solid infrastructure so that your people come to you. So I'm hoping to go through this with you today as far as, like I said, just taking some baby steps and getting you on your way to building your best team. So we all know about employee turnover costs. I'm sure we are all feeling the same pain. Here I just put up a quick stat for you guys to see that, but $160 billion annually is just crazy. I'm sure you all have felt this. I know I have myself, internally and externally. And so this is the problem that we are essentially solving, is having less turnover, being able to keep people retained longer and finding ways to do that. I always loved this quote. Starbucks is, I don't really love their coffee, even though I'm currently drinking one, but I do love this quote. If you are lucky enough to be someone's employer, then you have a moral obligation to make sure people do look forward to coming to work in the morning. So I advise you to go into this, like I said, with an open mind, thinking that your number one job here is to create a place where people want to show up. Everyone thinks that their product is either their software as a service or whatever tangible product they might have, but in fact, your product is actually your people. And the faster that you realize your product is your people and your number one job is to create a place where people want to show up, the faster you'll be able to catch up to speed for especially this new generation that we're working with. The new generation that we're working with is looking for better benefits, empowerment, freedom, a place where they're excited to come. They're looking for growth, professional development. They want to be supported and uplifted in their environment. So if you are, at this stage where you are looking to create a really great place to work, I think that you need to look at it like that as far as a moral obligation and take control. So if anybody's heard of an employer of choice, that's what we're going to talk about here. So an employer of choice is what I've got here in front of you: a Netflix, a Walt Disney, Apple, Google, Workable, Chick-fil-A. The organizations that first come to mind when you're thinking about, wow, they really treat their employees well, or wow, they really go out of their way to make a difference in their employees' lives. They don't just assume that people are happy to show up and have a paycheck. They want to hire the right people for the right reasons, and they want to treat them like human beings. And so everybody's goal should also be to become an employer of choice, because, like I said, the recruiting will end up happening on its own if you can get as close as you possibly can to an employer of choice. So when Blaine and I, back in our heydays when we used to work together, building a startup, we had no brand, we had no marketing, we didn't even have a budget, and we were able to go from 0 to 150 at no time. People didn't know who we were to dropping off cakes and champagne and anything just to get to our recruiters. So what you want to do is go through these different steps between employer brand, and that's what we're going to talk about today, recruiting, onboarding, offboarding, just to make sure you're creating the ultimate experience for both your internal employees as well as your external so that people on the streets are raving about you and people are dying to get into the door. So we're going to go through these 6 here today. I didn't want to bore you with a ton of different slides, so I tried to keep the slides to a minimum here. Employer brand will be first, recruitment process, onboarding, inboarding. A lot of people have never heard of inboarding, but that's basically, how do you keep that honeymoon phase going? How do you keep people happy? Offboarding is, how do you keep people, how do you leave them high on the way out the door, right? How do you get them to send you referrals once they get out the door? Yes, that actually does happen. And then just staying the course, right? This is not an easy process. It's, ever evolving. Like I said, we're dealing with a different generation here that has different expectations, including my own generation, which I'm kind of borderline, I think. And, I want to go to a place every day that I love, and at OneInAMil, this is extremely important to us, that we have a place where people want to show up every day. Otherwise, it's just not worth our energy. There we go. Everybody loves The Office, right? Dwight is my favorite for sure. So I want you guys to take a minute right now and just think about your employer brand. Take a solid minute, write down some notes, some ideas that come to you right off the top of your head. What is your employer brand saying right now to the world? What do you think people are saying about your organization when you're not around? When they are out to dinner with their friends, are they recommending your organization? Are they speaking highly about your recruitment process? Are they saying it's the best place to work in Charleston? What does your employer branding scream right now today? Take a second just to write down those thoughts. So as we move forward, one of the things I really wanted to do today, I love just kind of having takeaways and being efficient. That's so important to me. So I wanted to make sure you guys had actionable items. So you're going to keep seeing things like this that say things you can do today. So let's talk about just some quick things we can jump in on. So here's a shameless plug for OneInAMil, but here are all of our social channels if anybody wants to follow us. Blaine and the rest of the team do a fantastic job on our social, and we are very, very proud of where it has come. But I would say, ask yourself, when was the last time you gave your social a pulse check, right? When was the last time that you looked at all of your social and said, is this the place that I would want to work if I didn't already work here? When I look at my social media, our Twitter, our Facebook, our LinkedIn is extremely important if you're looking for the right candidate. Are you guys putting out really good content out there? Are you, a innovative leader in your industry, whatever that industry might be? If not, these are small baby steps that you can start to take in order to create an awesome social strategy for 2019. Now, I'll tell you, as recruiters, one of the things that we rely on most is our social network. I can't tell you how often we get emails, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or even Twitter, even Instagram, constantly saying, I saw your post, here's my resume, or I have a friend, here's their resume, here's their contact information. So if you are looking for really good talent, use these free social channels and make sure that you're using really good content and really good stuff. We always try to put, pictures of us or, live humans. That always definitely helps. But display your culture, display what you guys are doing behind the scenes and why people would want to work there. So in the book, one of the things that we talk about is doing an employer brand kind of self-check, if you will. So 1 through 10, this is super, super simple. And so 1, we try to make it fun. They may egg our cars to 10. So 10, they really, really love us. 1, they're going to egg our cars. So when you think about all of these different verticals, you have core values, super important, website, very important, especially the mobile version nowadays. Your reviews, your involvement in the community, and then your corporate guidance and your language within your organization. So when you're thinking about how do I rate myself 1 through 10 here, I would go through and think about, okay, what are our core values? And a lot of you are probably like, that's a great question. I don't even know what our core values are. For OneInAMil, we've actually spent a ton of time working on our core values to get them right. And in fact, I think we're going to change some up this year for 2019 because, like everything, we are also evolving. But some of our core values are fighting mediocrity, sharing success, do the right thing always, and then take ownership. Those are super important to us. These can always change, but if you can line up your core values, it will really help you hire the right people because you'll be able to interview people and ask them what their personal core values are. And if it doesn't align, it's never going to align, and that's okay. But you should figure that out early on, and it will help you hire and retain the exact talent that you're looking for. So take a minute, if you haven't already, just to write down your core values if you know them, and if you don't, write yourself a note to figure out what your core values are. So website, that's super important too. That's kind of your only face out there outside of your social traction. I think that should be a really fun place for people to go. We are also working on ours this year because we have a ton of new ideas, but this should be super innovative. It should be super fun. And it should be a place where it really screams your language. It screams what you're offering and how you're different. Demos should be on there, live videos, anything you can do to set yourself apart from everybody else. And your careers page, I'm going to show you one in a minute, should be stellar. People should get to your careers page and say, oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't hear about this company previous. I cannot wait to apply. Your reviews are super important. I had to talk a guy off a ledge this week about a ton of Glassdoor reviews that were out there for a company that he was interviewing with. And it's a real thing. The reviews, unfortunately, are a real thing, good or bad. For us, we're super, super proud of our Google reviews. If you go to our page, I think we're up to 68, 70 now. We take those very, very seriously because I don't know about you, but this generation, including myself, I don't buy anything without looking at the reviews now, and I certainly don't buy anything unless it's behind the computer. So the game has changed, the times have changed. Your reviews on Facebook, your reviews on Glassdoor, Yelp, all of those places are super, super important. So if you haven't taken a pulse on what people are saying on you out there, do that, because I can guarantee you that the good talent is going to do their research, and if you're on Glassdoor, they're going to find it and they're going to bring it to your attention. Community. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you doing out there? Are you creating networking events? Are you creating hackathons? Are you bringing people into your environment to show them what you're doing? How are you getting yourself out there in order to get people excited in the community about what you're doing as an organization and to get people to apply and be a part of your success and your vision? And then corporate guidance. This is always interesting because I think this is also subjective too, but think about your language inside of your company. How are you guys talking about the way that you treat one another? How do you start your emails? Is it, hey, I need this and I need it by X? Or is it, hey, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. What are your plans for the Super Bowl this weekend? Can you please get this, this, and that done? Appreciate it. LA. What are you doing to train people internally to treat others with respect? That will also help you attract the right talent. So recruitment is not just recruitment, it's actually an experience. So this is a quick shot from the Spotify website. If you have never gone to their website, I highly recommend it if you're looking for a place to get ideas as far as how to beef up your resume and attract the right talent. They have one section on their careers page that says, this is how we rock. And then the next one says, this is how we roll. And so the first one here, like we saw, this is how we rock is basically their mission, who they are, what they're looking for, and like join the band. How amazing is that? And then this is how we roll. So they have all of their core values here for you to see them, to engage, to be excited. And if I were looking to potentially work at Spotify, I would go to their site, I would look at these and say, either these do or do not line up with my own core values. And if they didn't, it would turn me away. If they did, it would excite me. So things that you can do today. Number one, avoid the black hole. We've all heard about the black hole. Don't be that company. Do not be the company that does not touch every single person that applies to you. Because you know what? That word does get around, and you turn into that company that gets resumes and doesn't ever respond to candidates. And it's the worst reputation that you can have. Over-communicate, over-communicate, over-communicate. I cannot say that enough. On all facets of recruiting, internally, and even working with your hiring managers within. HR focus groups are something that we always recommend for our clients. So the OneInAMil team, we're on the ground a lot, working with a lot of startups that want to build culture-driven organizations from the ground up. And so one of the things we always recommend is to do an HR focus group. It's very simple. Get your HR execs together in a group with all of the new hires that you just brought on, bring some breakfast in, and have a roundtable discussion about how was your onboarding experience as our last batch of hires? What would you improve? What did you love? What did you not love? Find out real feedback from people who just went through the process, and then you'll always be on top of what needs to be improved and what's working really well. It also will give you new ideas. So asking culture-driven recruiting questions, and that's something we can talk about in the second half as well. Just making sure that you're not asking the basics. Ask some real deep questions to find the soft skills that you're looking for in your candidates. And then lastly, just create a recruiting experience that everyone is talking about. You want to be that company that everyone is talking about and cannot wait to get their foot in the door. Okay, so we're going to switch over to recruiting. There's tons of ways to recruit and do it well. Like I said, over communication is absolutely key. In order to do that, you need to be highly organized. And so for us at OneInAMil, and this is what we teach our clients, is to be super organized, and we run an agile recruiting team. This is just an example of our board that we have. We have this automated, and then we also have it actually physical. And so you want to be super organized with your recruiting in order to not let the ball drop and not let the black hole be created. Automation is key. If you're not using an applicant tracking system at this time, I highly, highly recommend one. If you're looking for the right people to get into your organization, you want to see every single thing that you can on that person. So if you look below Bill there, this is workable applicant tracking system. When I put Bill's resume into the system or he applies, those are all of his social profiles that it pulls for me. Do you know how awesome that is, how fast that is, how automated that is? It makes you a better recruiter through and through because you can look through all the different social apps that they have. You can even see their code in GitHub if you're looking for a software developer, any videos they have on Vimeo. It gives you a really clear picture of the candidate themselves. So automation is key. Automate your team in order to find the right people. Just trust us. But then don't forget the small stuff. Don't get so caught up in the automation that you're not still writing thank you notes whenever you absolutely can. We still do this. Yes, we do.
All right. Thank you, Leanne. I'll let you take a water break, and we'll take a pause right now for questions. If you guys want to go ahead and start typing in your questions into the webinar controls, we will see them pop up on our screen over here. We've got a couple of questions coming in. Thank you so much. I will wait a minute for some questions to come in, but I'll get the questions started with a question that I have about LinkedIn or social media. What is protocol for accepting LinkedIn requests for people that are interested in your position that you have posted as an employer?
Yeah, absolutely. So give me an example. So if I were applying to your position or,
If I'm a company
Yep.
and I have, 3 or 4, postings on our career page,
Yep.
and the people that are applying are also trying to follow the recruiter at the company personally on LinkedIn, Twitter, other social media sites. What is protocol as the recruiter to accept them?
Oh, that's a really great question. You know, again, this can be subjective as well, but here's my opinion. And I actually have a good example of this. So one of our junior recruiters is based out of Tampa. She's 22. She doesn't have probably the most robust Python network, if you will. And I've been doing this for 15 years. So I have almost 12,000 contacts in my LinkedIn because I try to reach out to everybody. I think the more the merrier in this case. The more people you're connected with, the more they can see things that you share, things that you post. And so this week she had gone into my LinkedIn and was like, oh, wow, my eyes are completely open now. I have no idea what this was like. And it's because I've been building that up over 10 years. So anybody that reaches out to me, even regardless of what the position is, I always accept them. I think that it should always be the more the merrier, because you never know what opportunities that you're missing because you don't know what you don't know.
Great, thank you. So we've got a couple questions that have come in. One says, does your website cover your social media components? So all of your social media that you posted, does your website also post all of those?
No.
Okay. So it looks like we will be sending that out. We will be sending out the presentation afterwards. And for the person who asked that question, we can go ahead and put that in there as well.
Yeah. And all of our social links are at the very bottom of our website that are active.
Okay, great. Thank you. So there's another question here that says, I saw inboarding on the previous slide. Please define inboarding.
Sure. So we're going to talk about that a little more in the second half. But inboarding is kind of a word that I made up, actually. And because I couldn't really put a name on it, and I wanted to be able to articulate to my clients what I was referring to. And what that really means is, once you've captured your talent that you worked so hard to get in the door, how do you keep them? How do you keep that honeymoon phase going? What are the ways in which you can keep your culture where it needs to be, and you can keep your pulse on whether or not your team is engaged or not? So it's ideally keeping people happy over a long period of time.
Great, thank you. We have another question that came in. It says, our organization has someone that controls all of our social media and a website that is not the HR department. They have their own they have their own agenda in terms of what to promote. How would you handle this from a recruiting standpoint?
That's a great question too, and I feel like we find this a lot. I think for starters, and maybe you've already done this, but I would find a way to get in front of the right people to stress how important the recruiting is. That can be done even with metrics, showing some metrics of what others are doing out there, what the competition is doing out there from a social standpoint in order to attract the right talent. And so if you bring somebody facts and numbers and you say, this is something that we can improve upon, and here's what our competitors are doing, 9 times out of 10, they don't turn away. So I think if you can create a nice case, even if you are in a really large company that does not allow you to touch those social media, I think you can take control by trying to get in front of the right people building your case.
Great, thank you. We'll wait another minute to see if there's some more questions that come in, but if not, then we'll go ahead and get started on our second session.
Okay.
All right, I think we will go ahead and press forward. Thank you, Leanne.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to start this one off chatting about onboarding. So onboarding is also a 100% experience. I put this picture of this girl here because I feel like we've all been here. We've all been thrown into a very cold, dark room with black coffee with a bunch of HR papers to fill out, and they kind of close the door and say, good luck, we'll see you at the end of the day. And you're like, oh man, this is the worst decision ever. So I wanted to just kind of give you that picture because I know we've all been there, and our goal should all be to make sure that that never happens again for the future, right? Our new hire orientation should be so exciting. Everything that we do in regards to the onboarding is also part of the experience. And so it's extremely important to make sure that you're putting in the same effort to your recruitment process that you do to your onboarding process. We're having a little bit of technical trouble. There we go. And so first impressions are huge. Everybody knows that, no matter what. First impressions are always key. And I love this quote by Christy, the first impression occurs at a subconscious level before your brain has time to evaluate the space at a cognitive level. It is felt, it is not thought. So when you're thinking about that, even to the recruitment process, think about how your candidates feel. Think about how your new hires feel. So when they're coming in on their first day, does the front desk person know their name? Are they greeting them with coffee? Are they, making sure that their first experience walking through the door the first day is epic? Or are they getting there and, they're dealing with a receptionist with her head down and has no idea who that person is, and they already feel lost and scared and like they might have made the wrong decision? So as we go through this next piece, keep in mind that this is a feeling, not a thought. Okay, so immediate action items. So when you're thinking about onboarding, you've made the offer to this hire. They've gone through an epic recruiting process. Everything up to date has been awesome. You've over-communicated, internally to OneInAMil, just to give you guys an idea of what we do. When we have people interviewing, whether it's on-site or over the phone, they get a full itinerary of who they're interviewing. They get a one-pager on the company with all the high-level views that they need to, or execs that they need to know, who they're going to be interviewing with, all the social channels, a demo on the product, an example of an awesome TED Talk, and then a bunch of interview questions that we've put together for them specific to their role. So say you've gone through this recruiting process and you've done a really, really stellar job, right? And so now you're at the onboarding stage and you still have got to be on your game. So have you set up a hiring manager to call and congratulate the new hire? I didn't say email. I said pick up the phone and call. And I know that's hard for some people, but it's so more personable if we can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I'm so glad that you decided to join our team. I can't wait for you to start. If there's anything I can do in between now and the next 2 weeks, please give me a shout out. Sending a welcome package. Super important. When people give a 2-week notice and they leave a company, it's usually very emotional and dramatic. And a lot of people have families and children and bills. And so the level of stress and anxiety is really high. Like, did I make the right decision or did I not? Why would you not go above and beyond to make sure that they continue to feel like, wow, I made the right decision again. I can't wait to tell my friends. In fact, I can't wait to recruit my friends who I work next to in the same role at the same company. I'm going to make this so easy for them in the recruiting department because I'm still so shocked that they're treating me like this. So it's always nice to send out a detailed agenda of the first week. I think nobody likes coming into, ambiguity. Give them the first week. Let them meet with the execs. Let them meet with the CEO and hear her or his vision. Make sure that they're getting the one-on-ones that they need. Make sure that the whole agenda for the week is lined out so that when they show up the first day, not only do they know what the first week looks like, but they even know what they're having for lunch on the first day. Let them know not to bring lunch. The team is taking them out. Organize that. Make it happen. Make everybody excited. Figure out, one of the things that we love doing with our clients is figuring out what the new hire likes. What's their favorite candy? What's their favorite food? What's their favorite music? And you can put all of that into the new hire orientation. So, for example, one of our clients, they put, with their new, like all the candy that they like, they'll go ahead and put that all over their desk with all their equipment with a personalized handwritten note to say, hey, welcome to the team. We actually took the time to personalize your desk. It goes so far. And again, it goes back to that feeling. Does your new hire feel like they made the best decision yet? So here's an example that we give our clients to put on the desks of the new hires. And you could really do any variation of this note. I think it's so, I do think that, handwritten notes still go a long way. Some people would disagree, and that's totally fine. So you can do this however you want. You can even type it out. But imagine if you sat down at your desk and you opened up your brand new laptop and you looked down and this note was sitting there. Dear new hire, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Take another breath and clear those lungs. The best is yet to come. We are so thankful and grateful that you have chosen us. From this day forward, your life will be changed forever. Get ready for the ride of your life. Thanks for putting your trust in us. Cheers, your friends at OneInAMil. Again, just think about those feels that you would be feeling at your desk as that new hire. So take a minute to write down some things that you are currently doing for your new hires. What are you doing now that you love? What are some things that you could probably implement even today? So as you're writing those down, I have a list here that we put together for you that is just a quick onboarding checklist for day of orientation and once the offer letter is extended. Again, these are completely up to you. You can do whatever you want with them, mix them up, have fun with them. But a lot of these are what I've already discussed, but it makes it really, really smooth if you can just have a checklist to go through and make sure that everything is as perfect as it can possibly be during onboarding. So keep the honeymoon phase going. Somebody had asked me about the inboarding, and that's really what this is. When you think about keeping your people happy and what makes a really, really functional and centered organization, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And I've done a lot of research on this over the last 5 years or so. And I think in working with different organizations all over the nation, what I hear people say most is that they just want empowerment. They want to be working on stuff that they want to be working on. They're no longer there for a paycheck. They don't even care so much about the money anymore. They want to be doing something that they're excited about, that they feel like they're adding value to this world, and they're not just showing up and killing time for 8 hours in a cube. I think as a society, we've come to a time here where people really, really know that as you get older, you value every hour that you have, especially when you're a mom or a dad and you've got kids and you're running people around everywhere. Like, every hour counts. So are you sitting in a cube wasting 8 hours, or are you doing something that you really want to do? Because I don't think the whole cube thing is going to last for much longer. What are you doing for their professional growth track? So ask yourself, think about that right now. What are you currently doing at your organization to help people grow? Are you offering certifications? Are you offering for them to go back to school and get their MBA? Are you doing lunch and learns on site? Are you bringing people in to add value to their own professional growth, to help them grow? What are you doing to take things to the next level? Is your environment a trusting one? If people don't feel trusted, we all know if there's no trust, there is nothing. So it's got to be a trusting environment where they feel safe to make mistakes, but also it's got to be a shameless environment where you can ask dumb questions if you have them. On a scale of 1 to 10, is your environment uplifting and positive? Write that down. And are you creating an environment that is open-minded? Or is it, we've always done things this way, we're only going to do things this way, and your idea that you brought to the table is not heard? People want to be heard. They want their ideas to be heard, and they want to work in an organization that is open-minded. So, offboarding. A lot of people have questions about this too. And so offboarding, one of my old mentors used to always say, just leave them high. And at first we had no idea what he was talking about. And so what he means is, on the way out the door, leave people as high as you possibly can. So they feel high on life. They feel high about your organization. Terminations suck. They really do, but they happen, right? And so we all have to talk about the uncomfortable things, that are part of this. And so imagine if you could create an offboarding experience for your internal employees that when they leave, they feel so loved and so taken care of that they actually send you referrals. I've literally had this happen where we have given people severance, for a couple weeks to get them on their feet. We've helped them with their resume. We've helped them. We've given them recommendations on their LinkedIn. We go through their PIP plan and maybe just say, this is coming. I know this is coming. Hopefully this is just one example, but hopefully it would go smooth. And just say, how can we help you? We're going to give you some severance. We're going to help you with your resume. We're going to give you some recommendations on some honest feedback. It didn't work out here, but that doesn't mean that you're a nobody. You're going to work out somewhere else, and you're going to do great somewhere else, and we're going to help you get there. You just don't align with our culture, or you maybe can't keep up to speed. And so, from say on a development team standpoint, you're kind of, we've worked on you, and it's not working, but we're both in agreement here. So leave them as high as you can. The worst thing you can do, and I know that this is not, every situation is different. I'm very aware of that. And so this is me speaking broadly, but, when you can, don't take everything off everyone's desk and do it, at 5 o'clock on a Friday. If you can, get them first thing in the morning. Let them go to their desk and get their stuff if it allows. But there's nothing worse than, working for a place for 3 or 4 years, and I can't imagine what that feels like to go to your desk and have nothing there and then have a note that says, meet me in HR. It's just an awful feeling, and we have to remember at the end of the day that we're humans, and I promise you that it comes back around tenfold. I would get emails all the time that would say, hey, LA, I know that I wasn't a fit, but thank you so much for the way you guys handled everything. Here's a resume I have for you. This guy, I told him you guys were awesome and he'd be a great fit. So it can happen if you do things the right way. So terminations suck. I put this in there for you guys to help make them suck less. And so again, we're going to have this presentation for you. So I know that looks a little bit blurry and you probably can't read it as clear as we can here. But here's just some ideas, for involuntary departure and voluntary departure. Always have your documentation if you can. It helps you have more confidence and freedom to be able to make the right decisions on the way out the door. As leadership in general, rule of thumb, always take 50% or more of the blame. If you can give a 2-week severance, like I said, if it's financially possible, do that. Do the right thing. It goes back to doing the right thing. Offer to help the candidate find a job, and then always treat them like a human. In a voluntary departure, find out why. Listen, right? Have you been checking in with your, if you're the hiring manager, have you been checking in with your team member over time? Have you understood their level of engagement? And if not, 50% of that blame is on you. Did you hear that they weren't happy? Did you hear what they wanted and you couldn't make changes? Determine if the team member could or would stay. Complete a formal exit interview process. I think that's so important, and I also think that that's even important if you can get that done on the involuntary side too, if it's a kind departure. But it's always nice to learn what we could have done better as hiring managers and an executive team, right? I mean, it never hurts to be coachable. Always stay coachable. And then have a send-off celebration for the team member that is voluntarily leaving if you can. If it makes sense, make it a positive thing. And then leave them high. So again, this is a tool that is probably a little bit difficult for you guys to see because it's small. It will be given to you on the presentation, so you'll be able to work through it, but it is just a tool. I think everybody should be using an employee engagement tool. Another one that we love that's automated, this is kind of just one to get you started, but Hyphen's a really great product. It's Hyphen like you would think it would be spelled. That's a great engagement platform that we use with some of our clients as well. And so there's a million different employee engagement platforms out there. Find the one that best works for you. And again, if you're doing your 30-day check-ins with your team members, then you should be able to understand where everybody is. And, as a manager, I would say one of the things that we do really well when we're working with our clients is to have them do a 30-day check-in that is very standardized and formal. And so what I mean by that is saying, like, you know, hey, Blaine, like, let's go and have coffee, or let's go grab a glass of wine, whatever it might be. And I have a structured list of 10 questions. And my 10 questions are, you know, whatever I want them to be. And so for us, what we use is, you know, Blaine, give me a personal share. Tell me something that's going on in your life with your kids or your husband or you personally or your health or whatever it might be. Something that you feel like you want to share with me. And you start it off about them. And then you work your way into how are things going with work? You know, are you feeling challenged? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you have too much bandwidth, not enough bandwidth? Really engage with what they're doing day to day. If you're running in an agile environment, which is super transparent, that's super helpful because you can look at deliverables and say, well, you know, I've noticed you haven't made some, or I noticed you've made a ton. It really helps you get to the core of how happy that person is. Look at their vacation time and their PTO. Look at their sick time. Look at everything. And then at the end, you have the opportunity every 30 days, if you can make the time to do this, I promise you it'll save you money and time over the course of the team members' time with your organization, to sit down and say, on a level of 1 to 10, what is your level of happiness? And so last week I did this with 2 of our recruiters, and her happiness level was at a 9. And I said, great, you know, that's awesome. What can I do to get you a 10? Is there anything that I can do in my power to help you to be more successful and to get you to a 10? And unfortunately, we had just a candidate turn down one of the opportunities that she'd been working really hard on. And so it was one of those days that it's just, you know, you got to have the bad days in order to appreciate the good days, right? And so we worked through it. But in those scenarios, you may have someone say, well, you know, I'm actually at like a 6. And if you say, great, give me some tangible things that I can do as your manager to make your life better. And they might say, you know, I need you to delegate work better, or I need you to communicate with me more. I feel lost. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And so I feel like I'm kind of spinning my wheels. Can you over communicate? And in doing so, can you put a call on our calendar, you know, once a week for 10 minutes? There are things that you can do to make people's life easier if you just ask and you just listen and you over communicate. And in the long run, that will help you keep people and have less turnover. Okay. And that's a wrap. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Leanne. The questions have been coming in, so I'll let you take a water break, and then I will start them. One of these I will actually answer while you're taking a sip. It's the question is, please spell the employee engagement tool hyphen. So you said literally the way that you spell it, and I looked it up, and the website is get-hyphen.com. So it's GETHYPHEN.com. So for the person who asked that question, I will post it in the webinar controls, the website, but it is get-hyphen.com.
Thank you.
Yes. So we have another question here. And it says, what if there is significant tension throughout the entire organization? What are your suggestions?
Well, I would say bring OneInAMil in for culture development strategy. No. Actually, those are a lot of the calls that we get, and, hey, there's so much dysfunction in our leadership and we need help, and we need to sit down and figure that out. That's a hard question. I mean, without knowing a lot of the background, bringing in a culture development strategist would help. I think you need to bring in a coach or bring in somebody that can, if it's at the leadership level, at the executive level, if there's dysfunction there, then it usually trickles down to the rest of the organization, unfortunately. So it needs to be dealt with at the top. It might not, maybe this might not be a long-term company for you, but I am happy to talk offline with you as far as like where the level of dysfunction starts and ends. And then I definitely have some thoughts and answers for you, if that helps.
Great. Thank you. The next question came in. It says, what do you think about using tests during the recruiting process that test for culture fit? There are a number of companies developing new solutions that are geared towards determining culture fits prior to hiring.
I love them, actually, and we continue to keep trying new tools as well, including predictive index is one of our favorites, which we use a lot on most of our candidates. We also have our own internal system that we built in order to ask the right questions, which would be very similar to a predictive index. And so, yes, I love tools. I'm all about automating the engagement process and the culture-driven process, and asking the right questions. But there are so many different tools out there. You just really have to find the one that works best for you, but highly recommend it. Check out predictive index as well.
Great, thank you. The next question comes in and it says, what have you learned from starting employees on Tuesdays and why have you decided or not decided to do that?
That's a great question. So we do that whenever we can. At OneInAMil internally, we do that. Mondays, I don't know. I hate to say that Mondays are horrible because they're not if you're in the right job and you love what you do. But for most people, I think Mondays are still hard. I mean, there's a lot of days where Mondays are still hard for me, even running my own company. But I think, people want to get their groove back on. I think on Monday morning, anywhere from like 8 to 12, people are just trying to catch up and get back in the groove of the week. So the last thing they want to do is be burdened. I hate to use the word burden, but I'm going to use it by a new hire because a new hire needs a lot of hand-holding, right? And there's a lot going on. If you're sending out a full itinerary with, you're meeting this person, then your whole morning gets kind of drug into that. And so it also, one of the things that we recommend doing is if the person is, say it's like a young engineer that is, I don't know, you ask their hobbies and he or she is into, hiking or, I don't know, climbing or something like that. A lot of times we will recommend giving them take Monday to yourself and here's a gift card to a, coastal climbing. And we put it in a card and just say, go enjoy the day to kind of space out and get your head right for your new day. We get very creative. Or if they have a family, we say, okay, see if you can take that Monday and here's a 4-pack to Velocity for the day and here's a gift card to lunch. And again, there's budgets and I understand all of that, but anything that you can do to make that Monday special for that person. And then Tuesday, everybody in your internal organization is ready to rock and roll and take that person in. So it's just always a better day.
Great. So the last question we have here is not a question, more of a comment, but someone mentioned that they use the DISC process for hiring and onboarding. Do you want to comment on that?
Yep, love that one too. That one is awesome. There's so many out there. I haven't found the perfect one yet. Hyphen has been the best, and I'm actually hoping. So if you guys saw in the presentation, we use Workable as our applicant tracking system, where it shows all of those social profiles. It also imports with your Gmail, and so it's all encompassing. And what I'm hoping is pretty soon that they actually have a third-party integration with a employee engagement software soon, so that we can, I'm sure they're going to pick the best one and then it's all under one roof. So stay tuned for that, I'm hoping.
Great. We don't have any more questions that have come in, but if you do have questions for everybody on the line, please feel free to reach out to the team at OneInAMil. Feel free to reach out to Leanne directly. All their contact information is available in this webinar presentation that I will be sending out this afternoon, hopefully. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to go ahead and sign off now. And thank you, Leanne.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.